Moscow, Idaho, a town known for its quiet atmosphere and close community bonds, became the unexpected setting for a terrible event that sent shockwaves far beyond its boundaries. Before November 2022, this small farming community of about 25,000 people hadn't seen a homicide in nearly 5 years, creating a feeling of safety that was suddenly broken. The morning of November 13th, 2022, brought the horrific news that 4 young people had been violently killed in an off-campus rental home, forever changing the peace of this normally tranquil college town. The brutal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students stunned the local residents and captured national attention, leaving people wrestling with shock and disbelief. The unusual nature of such a violent crime in Moscow magnified the tragedy's effect, instilling a deep sense of violated security in a community that had long felt protected from such horrors. The 4 individuals whose lives ended so tragically were active members of the University of Idaho community, each with distinct dreams and connections. Ethan Chapin, 20, was a freshman studying sports management. He participated actively in campus life as a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity, where his brother belonged too, showing a strong family tie to the university's Greek system. Raised in Conway, Washington, Ethan had worked on a tulip farm. Friends later planted tulips in his memory, representing joy and peace. Remembered as a gifted athlete, he played basketball and tennis in high school and was a dedicated follower of the NFL and country music. Ethan was dating Xana Kernadal, and their relationship had deepened, with Xana spending time with his family this summer before the tragedy. As a reflection of his influence, his family started the Ethan Smile Foundation, which has given scholarships to high school students, honoring his love for life and helping others follow their dreams. Xana Kernadal, 20, was a junior studying marketing in the College of Business and Economics. She was an involved member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority, showing her participation in the university's social scene. Originally from Avondale, Arizona, she grew up in Post Falls, Idaho, where she was involved in gymnastics. Xana worked at the Mad Greek restaurant in Moscow with Madison Mogan, forming a friendship within the local town. Her older sister described her as positive, funny, lighthearted, and someone who consistently brought happiness to others. A touching detail from her high school graduation was her mortarboard message, "For the lives that I will change," showing her hopeful spirit and wish to make a positive difference. Her family created a memorial endowment in her name to provide scholarships for University of Idaho students, making sure her legacy of positive influence would carry on. Madison Mogan, 21, was a senior marketing major and a member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority, involved in both her studies and social activities at the university. She came from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and had a close family. Like Xana, Madison worked at the Mad Greek restaurant, where she even applied her marketing knowledge to handle the business's social media, showing her initiative and the real-world use of her education. She shared a particularly strong bond with Kaylee Goncalves, her best friend since junior high. Their connection was so profound that Kaylee's mother called them like sisters. After graduation, Madison planned to move to Boise, showing her eagerness for new beginnings. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, was a senior studying general studies in the College of Letters, Arts and Social Sciences, and a member of the Alpha Phi sorority. She was from Rathdrum, Idaho, and her family called her the ultimate middle child, a defender and protector, describing her strong and caring personality. Her friendship with Madison Mogan was central to her life, starting in 6th grade. Kaylee possessed an adventurous spirit, with intentions to travel to Europe and move to Texas after graduation, showing a desire to see the world and start new chapters. Her sister mentioned Kaylee had secured a job, reflecting her motivation and readiness for the future. In a particularly upsetting detail, Kaylee's parents believe she was cornered in the room where she and Madison were discovered, based on her body's position and the room's layout. The tragedy happened at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, an off-campus rental home where Madison Mogan, Xana Kernadal, and Kaylee Goncalves lived. The 3-story house, with 6 bedrooms, was a frequent gathering place for friends and sat near the University of Idaho campus, a typical student dwelling. On the night of the killings, 2 other roommates were inside the house, but remained safe, reportedly asleep on the ground floor and unaware of the violence happening upstairs. The house, having become a location forever linked to the horrific events, was eventually torn down in December 2023 as one step in the community's healing effort. Before demolition, the FBI thoroughly documented the residence to preserve potential evidence for the continuing legal case. Leading up to that terrible night, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle went to an on-campus party at the Sigma Chi House, 735 Nez Perce Drive, on the evening of November 12th. At the same time, Madison Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves were at the Corner Club, a downtown sports bar at 202 North Main Street, a well-liked spot in Moscow. Later that evening, around 1:40 a.m. on November 13th, Madison and Kaylee were seen at the Grub Truck, a late-night food stand near 311 South Main Street, getting food before heading home. The law enforcement investigation into the killings was a massive undertaking requiring cooperation between several agencies. The Moscow Police Department led the effort, with substantial help from the Idaho State Police and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Nearly 130 law enforcement officers worked on the investigation, showing the dedication to solving this awful crime. Idaho's governor allocated up to $1 million in state emergency funds to aid the investigation, recognizing the considerable resources needed. The FBI contributed vital expertise and resources, especially in forensic analysis and the application of investigative genetic genealogy. The extensive resources assigned to the case did not prevent challenges. At first, no suspects were identified, leaving the community anxious. The release of information to the public and the victims' families was restricted, prompting criticism and frustration. The rise of internet sleuths spreading widespread online speculation and false information added difficulties, causing pain and potentially obstructing the investigation. The intense media attention surrounding the case presented obstacles to protecting the possibility of a fair trial for any suspect. The defense team for the eventual suspect raised serious questions about the constitutionality of the DNA evidence and the search warrants employed. Several key pieces of evidence surfaced during the investigation. A sharp weapon, likely a knife, was identified as the instrument of death, though the exact knife has not been found. A meaningful piece of evidence was a K-bar knife sheath bearing a USMC logo discovered near one of the victims. A key link was established when touched DNA on this sheath matched DNA collected from Brian Kohberger, leading to his identification as a suspect. Investigators pinpointed a white Hyundai Elantra scene near the home around the time of the killings. Surveillance footage confirmed the car was nearby. Phone records purportedly showed Kohberger's cell phone registered in the area of the home multiple times before and after the killings. Further checks showed Kohberger had bought a K-bar knife and sheath online months earlier, and his Amazon history included searches for a K-bar knife days after the homicides. Prosecutors later disclosed a selfie taken by Kohberger just hours after the killings happened. An important technique used in the investigation was investigative genetic genealogy, IgG. This method helped investigators identify Kohberger as a potential suspect by comparing DNA from the scene to distant relatives in public genealogy databases. The defense contended that using IgG infringed upon Kohberger's constitutional rights. The judge rejected these arguments, confirming the DNA evidence could be used, stating Kohberger had no reasonable expectation of privacy for DNA left at a crime scene. Brian Christopher Kohberger, 30, a PhD student in criminal justice and criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, became the main suspect. He was apprehended in Pennsylvania on December 30th, 2022, almost 7 weeks after the killings. Kohberger faces 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. He agreed to be returned to Idaho and later entered a not guilty plea. Prosecutors have stated they will seek the death penalty if Kohberger is found guilty. Because of worries about securing a fair trial amid widespread media coverage in Loudoun County, the trial was relocated to Boise, Idaho. The trial is presently set to start on August 11th, 2025, and is anticipated to run for over 3 months. Kohberger's defense team has submitted numerous pre-trial motions, contesting the DNA evidence, attempting to remove the death penalty, and proposing someone else might have placed a knife sheath at the scene. The defense is exploring an autism spectrum disorder diagnosis for Kohberger as a potential point against the death penalty. The selfie Kohberger took hours after the killings could be presented as evidence, perhaps connecting to the bushy eyebrows one surviving roommate described. The effect of the Idaho 4 killings on the University of Idaho community in Moscow has been deep and enduring. The initial shock and fear prompted many students to leave campus early for the security of their homes. The university reacted by boosting security measures and offering counseling services to students coping with the loss. Vigils and memorials were organized to pay tribute to the victims, giving the community places to gather in sorrow and remembrance. The widespread online theories and spread of bad information by internet sleuths caused further pain to an already suffering community. In one case, a university professor sued a TikTok user for making untrue and harmful claims. The house 1122 King Road, the location of the killings, was demolished. The university established the Vandal Healing Garden and Memorial on campus, a space set aside to honor the memories of the 4 students and other members of the Vandal family who have died. Community events and gatherings focused on remembrance and healing continue. Scholarships have been founded in the names of the victims, making sure their influence continues and aids future students. The Idaho 4 killings serve as a somber lesson about life's fragility and the immense impact of violence on a connected community. The pending legal case involving Brian Kohberger is being closely followed as the community looks for justice for the 4 young lives taken so tragically. Healing is undoubtedly a long and difficult path, but the strength of the University of Idaho and Moscow is shown by their shared actions to remember Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernadal, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves, keeping their memories alive and ensuring their mark on the community is never forgotten.